Hola, vamos a estar jugando Stanley Parable. La primera vez. ¿Jugaste alguna vez Stanley Parable? No. Ajusta la barra hasta que la computadora sea apenas visible. Confirmo. Juego es cortito, así que no debería. Ahora jugar. Eh, Son las 3:46. Concha de tu- y 46 pm. ¿Puedes acceder a configuraciones? Ok. Ok, buen menú. Ajá. Sí, creo que está bien. A ver. It's never- The end is never the end. The end is never the end. Ok.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk,
Ajá.
telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job.
Mhm.
And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget.
Mhm.
He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong.
Mhm.
Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find it. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Mm. Ajá. Ujú. Aparte de eso, los sonidos suenan a tecleos de computadora.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
¿Qué pasa si no te obedezco, man?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ok.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yes, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Bueno, al menos hay café.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
El baño. Es un baño. Ah, no, es una silla. El baño era una silla.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Una tarjeta.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why,
Sí.
I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Danger everywhere. No buckets. Okay. What?
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Why? Exactamente iguales. Es como confiar, hermano. ¡Ah! No puedes saltar. No sé. Ok, no son logros. Ah. Ok, vamos a confiar, vamos a confiar. Una vez.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. do we want? What are we looking for?
What the fuck?
Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
What?
If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy. No, wait. Where are you going? Oh, no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
What's happening?
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
En serio.
No! Oh, thank God. You lived. You had me worried there for a moment. No. No, no. What are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Ok, es tu conciencia, ¿no?
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me? My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours. Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Bueno, increíble, sigamos.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Increíble.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
نروح ايه. What?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above.
No!
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? and everything went black.
What's happening?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. Then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
¿Qué es este juego?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
A ver, ¿dónde nos lleva esto? Executive Bathroom. ¿Qué? Ajá. What? What?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
In the actual fuck. Man, this is... Wow. No entiendo nada. Es increíble.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape. Okay. What?
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
¿Qué?
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
What?
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
What in the actual fuck? What the? Oh my god.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
What?
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
What in the actual
In a
fuck?
single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
What the fuck is going?
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
No,
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ah. My fucking god. Is this game? Por aquí. Diagrama de la oficina. Este plano muestra la oficina al comienzo del juego. El camino desde la oficina de Stanley hasta las dos puertas fue la primera parte del juego que se construyó. A lo largo del desarrollo se agregaron y se modificaron distintas secciones, pero el diagrama fundamental es casi idéntico a la primera versión. La puta madre. La computadora de Stanley. Pintura de la naturaleza. Es como un museo de Stanley. Archivadores. El ritmo de la sección inicial era crucial para el juego. El pasillo se movió y se modificó para que los jugadores llegaran a las dos puertas en un buen tiempo. Las dos puertas. El escenario de las dos puertas abiertas fue la primera pieza concreta del diseño de Stanley Parable. Una vez que se creó esta habitación, el resto del juego surgió como una extensión, una exploración de la contradicción que se planteaba aquí. La madre. La oficina. Sonidos de botones. Seleccione los sonidos que se utilizan en el juego cuando se oprimen botones. En cada uno de ellos se combina un tono sintetizado con el sonido que se produce al presionar un teclado, sí me imagino, ¿no? Computadoras de la oficina. O sea, me acabo de pasar el juego, no entiendo. Imagen de desarrollo de la oficina del jefe. La oficina. Sala de mantenimiento. Una versión inicial de la sala de mantenimiento. No sé si nunca no llegué ahí. Otro 31. Anuncio de Ultra Deluxe. En diciembre de 2028 hicimos el anuncio de la versión Ultra Deluxe de Stanley Parable en The Game Awards. Aquí se muestran capturas de pantalla de los videos que hicimos para el anuncio y retraso del juego. Zona de guerra. En las primeras etapas de desarrollo diseñamos un final en el que Stanley terminaba en un campo de batalla luchando contra alienígenas. El juego de acción cobraba conciencia y le declaraba la guerra al narrador. Poco después de empezar a construirlo, nos dimos cuenta de que era demasiado jocoso y literal para el tono del juego. Además, algunas personas interpretaban que nos burlábamos de los amantes de los juegos de disparo y eso no era nuestra intención. Dios mío. Correo electrónico al narrador. Después de presentar el segundo avance, le pedimos a la gente que le enviara preguntas por correo electrónico al narrador. Planteábamos usarlas en otros materiales publicitarios, pero nunca les encontramos un lugar adecuado. Aquí puedes encontrar una selección de esos correos. El juego va a tener capibaras. Increíble, sinceramente. Increíble. Uno más. Ah, are you gay? Ay, Dios mío. Quiero irme, pero a la vez no. Ay, la puta madre. Ah, La sala de empleados. Una versión inicial de la sala de empleados. El cronómetro del apartamento. Es una versión anterior de la elección que conduce al final del apartamento. Un cronómetro te daba 15 segundos para tener el teléfono. Si no atendías, llegabas a otro final. El montacargas. El objetivo del montacargas siempre fue ofrecer la opción de quedarse en él o saltar hacia otro camino. Sin embargo, después de esta versión inicial decidimos agregar la opción de que el jugador cayera a la muerte. Perfecto. El montacargas. La segunda versión cumple la misma función que la del juego final, pero queríamos que se pareciera más a un lugar donde se almacenan mercancías. Sí, banco más, sinceramente. Diagrama de la sala de mantenimiento. Los pasillos se que vienen luego de las dos puertas iniciales eran importantes, pero los jugadores los recorrerían muchísimas veces. Probamos con varios diseños, pero en definitiva ganó la versión más simple. No entiendo el juego, vos. Es increíble, me encanta. O sea, me acabo de saltar todo el juego. Fui al final directa. Final del menú. Durante mucho tiempo tuvimos un final que solo terminaba cuando el jugador reiniciaba desde el menú de escape. Por desgracia, muy pocas personas se dieron cuenta de que esto era algo que había que hacer, lo cual fue frustrante para todo el mundo. Ah, ujú. Modelo del final Zen. El final Zen tuvo muchas iteraciones. Esta sala representa la cuarta versión del final. Pensamos que habíamos terminado, pero decidimos abandonarlo y modificarlo otra vez poco antes del lanzamiento. O sea, o sea, no me pasé el juego y entré a los créditos. Y me estoy spoileando todo lo que hay. Es increíble. No esperaba menos. Palanca del final Zen. En un principio estas palancas eran parte del final Zen. Cuando el jugador accionaba las palancas, el narrador describía qué color había accionado. Final Zen. En esta captura se muestra una versión inicial del final conocido como Final Zen, que luego se descartó y se combinó con otra parte del juego. Muy Portal, no sé, la distribución. Ay. Avance. Lanzamos cuatro avances principales durante el desarrollo del juego, cada uno de los cuales transmitía un aspecto del espíritu del juego. Este es el primero, publicado en mayo de 2012. En él se ve una serie de habitaciones rotas y la voz del narrador que les informa a los espectadores que están preparando una nueva versión de Stanley Parable. ¡Qué juego raro! Dios. Final de la Libertad. Esta fue la primera versión del Final de la Libertad en la versión alfa del juego. O sea, hay un Final de la Libertad. Escritorio de la cuenta regresiva. Uno de los escritorios de una versión inicial del final de la cuenta regresiva. Final de la Libertad. Este es el Final de la Libertad de la versión beta. Ascensor a la sala de monitores. Durante un tiempo el ascensor de la sala de monitores podía subir o bajar. Arriba estaba la libertad y debajo la cuenta regresiva. Abandonamos esta idea porque a los jugadores les costaba recordar qué había arriba y qué había abajo y en cambio pusimos los dos finales juntos. Habitación de la cuenta regresiva. Una versión inicial de la habitación de la cuenta regresiva. Me encanta. Exit. Ah, mira. A ver. Prototipo del diseño del juego. Este es el nivel que William, el diseñador de niveles, le envió a Dave, el guionista, como una especie de obra de prueba. El nivel fue tan bueno que William lo contrataron para diseñar todo el juego. Si bien gran parte del entorno cambió, la disposición de este prototipo continuó en el juego. A ver, sinceramente está muy guapo. ¿Para qué mentir? Oficina de Stanley. De izquierda a derecha. La evolución de la oficina de Stanley. La primera se creó en noviembre de 2011, la segunda 2012, marzo de 2012, la tercera en febrero de 2013. A ver qué evolución, ¿no? Me encanta como le fueron, es como si le hubieran ascendido y le hubieran dado más cosas en su despacho, en su oficina. Qué heavy, no, no entiendo nada. Empecé el juego no entendiendo nada y terminé el juego, bueno, en los créditos no entendiendo aún menos. Increíble. Reloj.
Perfect example of poor level design. Textbook mistake. It's the kind of thing you pick up on in...
A ver. Una vez iniciada la zona subterránea del juego.
You being you, you'll probably spend the next hour trying to solve it. Here, I'm just going to make this easy. I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him for all his button pushing? Does that sound plausible to you? Stanley jumped in the river. Then he pushed the number 4.
Mira vos. Qué curioso. Bueno, vamos a terminar esto entonces.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
The Stanley Parable. Ah, y acá desactivas la...
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you.
Bueno, acá terminamos el juego. No sé qué esperaban. Sinceramente yo no sé lo que estoy jugando, pero me gusta. Quizás lo continúe. Adiós.